All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us a very special guest, an expert in social media and marketing, both in the private and public sector, currently running a family business using all sorts of innovative marketing approaches, here to share with you how to get your message out there quick, fast, cheap, with free tools like social media. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Anna Lissansky.
Thanks for having me, Majid. Luckily I've had my coffee, so that's good. And thank you again as well for sending me the list of the types of companies that you guys are. It kind of helped me shape the presentation. I always like to kind of tailor what I'm going to say based on the audience and who's going to be attending. So I guess in terms of like outlining what I'm going to go over, I'm not going to focus too much on the depth of the strategy. I'm just going to go over kind of the key points that you guys need to think about, and then I'm going to dive in straight into examples, which I find are kind of the best way to learn and the best way to see if there's anything applicable for your business that you could implement right away, right now. So in terms of the actual strategy, those are kind of the 6 key areas that I think you guys should all consider and have in mind whenever you are diving into the world of social media and digital marketing. Um, so obviously, the most important that you start off with is your target audience, and you probably have heard about that in past presentations if they were with a marketing or sales angle. So your target audience is very important, and you should try to really iron that out before you dive in. So you kind of list those individuals' habits, their general kind of maybe their gender, if it is skewed to female or male, what they like to do, where they like to hang out, which social media tools they like to use, um, their interests, their likes, their dislikes, things like that. Really just outline it out on in a document somewhere so that you're really focused on that audience, especially because you guys have such a short amount of time to reach your audience. If you try to go everybody, all Ottawa citizens or all of Canada right away, you might just end up not being able to reach the audience that is most likely to respond to your product or service in the short time frame that you have. So next, you would set your objectives and how you want to measure them. So obviously, one of your objectives is sales, as Majid pointed out. But how will you measure them? So for example, I saw that a lot of you guys already had websites, so that is really good. If your websites have a contact form, like a form where people can contact you and ask for more information or request a quote, that is one way to measure. And if you're using the social channels to point people to your website, then you could track how many leads you're getting. That's just one way of measuring your objectives. And then you would select your social platforms, and again, that would be tied to your audience. You would select the platforms that are most used by your target audience that you had described in the beginning. Ask around, do some polling of your friends, your colleagues, anybody that, especially if your target audience is not necessarily you, but let's say you're a photography company and you're selling, your main customer would be wedding photography. Well, you guys are not necessarily in that target audience right now, but you should get familiar with that target audience. So contact people who are at that stage in life and do some of that research so that you could kind of figure out what would resonate best with them, and also what channels they happen to use. So I'll go over channels later when I go into my example. In terms of then building your content calendar, so once you've determined your target audience and what they like, which channels they're on, let's say Facebook or Instagram, then you have to decide what it is you're going to post. Just haphazardly posting whatever, anytime, any place is not going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. The biggest bang for your time is going to be basically things that end up resonating with your audience, things that they end up liking, sharing, and responding to. So you could track that. most of these tools have either a built-in tool that shows you your client insights and statistics, like how many likes you got, for example, on a Facebook page, how many shares, etc. But also, if possible, if you are pointing to a website that you have, try to tie that in with looking at the website's analytics to see who's coming in through which social channels, and then you invest more time in those. Now that's more of a in-depth technique and something that you would have to do a lot more research on, and I wouldn't be able to fully cover it in this presentation, but I just thought it was important to mention that that is one way of kind of seeing which platforms are doing the best for you. In terms of yeah, so there's your content. You've decided what your content calendar would be. Then you publish. So for publishing, I will go over some tools that are free and that could really help streamline your publishing and make it a little more easy for you, because you guys are busy with a lot of other things as well. And then finally, evaluate and adjust. So sure, absolutely, at any time. Well, ideally, if you have a website set up, you could have Google Analytics installed, and there's YouTube videos on how to install Google Analytics on your website. You can go, I did that myself because I never took training at the beginning when I was setting this up for my company website. I just did a lot of research on YouTube and watched a few videos and was able to set up Google Analytics on my website. So that's definitely something that you guys could do. I do. Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. So, and then through that, you could go and look at your analytics reports, and there's ones that say social. So how much traction you're getting through social or through other channels. And so that brings me back to the last point, which is evaluate and adjust. So after you've been running it for a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, a month, you can kind of start to have enough data that you can start to see which channel is bringing you the most bang for your buck, or for the time that you invested in it. And then you can say, okay, well, I'm going to put more effort in that channel in Instagram versus in Facebook, or Twitter is doing absolutely nothing for me, I'm going to invest more time in Facebook. So those kind of decisions, you will only be able to make them if you have your structure set up to be able to see who's coming in through what on your website report, and then you can adjust, right, which is the final part. So that's kind of the strategy element. It's really important. The most important one is really the target audience and which channels you're going to pick, because, for example, if I saw that most of your companies are B2C, so to the consumer. If you were mostly B2B, like selling to other businesses, then you wouldn't go to Facebook and Instagram or channels like that. You would go straight to LinkedIn, because that's the platform that is most targeted to businesses in terms of there's lots of professionals on there, there's lots of senior executives on there, and those are the types of audiences using those platforms, so you are trying to reach those decision makers. So again, your platform choice is really going to depend on your audience. So now I'm going to delve into some examples just so you can see what I mean by all of these. So my first example, because I noticed that at least 5, I think, of the companies do photography, I believe. Which companies do photography? Oh, okay, great. Okay, excellent. Okay. So the example I'm going to use is actually it's a local Ottawa-based photographer. Her name is Katya Pershin. So she's actually a friend of mine. I hope she doesn't mind that I use her as an example, but she's doing a really good job of promoting herself on social media, and so I'm going to show you some of her examples. So this is her Facebook page. So what I'm going to do is basically do like a critique of it. So I'll kind of show you the good parts or some of the parts that she may be lacking, so that when you guys decide to set up your Facebook page, if that's one of the channels that is best for your audience, you guys will be able to figure out all the areas and why she did something rather than something else. So this part is called the background image, and she's doing a really good job of describing her top services. So she's not focusing on wedding photography. She's not focusing on baby photography. She's not focusing on any of those types of photography. She's focusing on this glamour, boudoir, and fashion types of photography. So that's why these photos that she's highlighting are kind of associated with her main product, the main product she wants to go after. And this background image can be changed. And once you end up getting some likes, some fans, whenever you change this background image, that is a good way to kind of bump up your views for your post, because that kind of will show up in people's feeds, is more likely to show up in people's feeds. Then she has 2,100 likes. That's a decent amount. I know she's had her Facebook page for a couple of years, so obviously it took her time to build that kind of fan base. So that's why I'm like, I wouldn't put all your eggs into the Facebook basket. I would try to do other channels also that are relevant to your audience, because it'll take you a while to build up that kind of fan base in order for you to actually get sales from this, right? Because you have to have enough fans and enough people sharing and liking your post for it to expand your audience and then for you to get more sales. So there's some platforms that make it more easy to expand and reach broader audiences beyond just people who have already liked it. So what else is she doing really good? Let's check out the About section. So as you can see, she's filled out her About section really well. She's using all the appropriate keywords. And keywords are very important because fan pages are searchable on Google, and they're searchable on Facebook. And a lot of people search for things on Facebook, but mostly they'll search on Google or other search engines. So these keywords are really important. Make sure if you set up a profile to fill it out really, like, don't just do a one-liner about your company. Try to do a whole couple of paragraphs. Look, if you see more, she's done quite a few paragraphs because she wants to hit all of those important keywords and rank better when people search for fashion photography on Google. Okay, so that's why this is important. And even having a page at all, like even if it's not going to be one of your main social media channels, just having the page with the About Us section with all those keywords will help you be more findable. And with internet marketing, basically, if you're not findable, you don't exist, right? You don't exist. So that's kind of the main point I want to drive home, is that everything you're doing is to become more findable, right? Because you guys are new companies, you don't have a big brand image, there's not thousands of people already aware of you out there. So the only way you'll be found is, let's say, a friend of a friend shares one of your posts on Facebook about some beautiful wedding photograph you took, right? And then that person has been thinking about hiring a photographer for their upcoming wedding. So they might take a look at your fan page, and then if you have showcased your product, your service really well, they might decide to go with you or at least ask you for a quote, right? So do you guys have any questions about Facebook fan pages so far? Any concerns, questions? I'm sure I won't spend too much on Facebook just because it's, yep, sure. Yes. Yes. Yes, but it will only show up in those people's news feeds if they continue to like your post, like, comment, or share your post. So for example, let's say they like your page and then for 2 weeks they never like, comment, or share any of your posts, they'll stop seeing it in their feed. And that goes for everyone else. That's why I'm saying she has 2,000 fans, but of those 2,000 fans, only 2 to 6% of her fans are seeing the post, because Facebook has made it that way. Only the ones that are most interested in this type of post are going to see it in their news feed. So therefore, I mean, she's got 2,000 fans, but she's only reaching her super fans, the ones that are liking, sharing, and commenting on her posts. But I mean, they're still good, because when they do that, all of their friends see that, right? So even if those friends are not fans of the page, that'll still be a visual trigger. Oh, so that's a possible photographer I might contact, right? So I'll go into I won't go into more examples on Facebook just because I find Facebook, I mean, I'm sure you guys are all on it and it's fairly straightforward to use and set up. I just wanted to go over kind of the key points. And now I'll go into some of the other examples, unless you guys have any other questions. Yeah, sure. Yes, exactly. Yes. She is international, but I do know that she does a lot of her, a very big percentage of her sales is local. So like Ottawa magazine, Ottawa-based clients, and things like that. So yes, she does operate internationally. Like she'll fly, you know, if the cost merits, she'll fly over to New York and do a shoot, right? But yeah, but the majority of her sales is still local. So that's why in the About Us section, you have to make sure you have like your point of contact, your website. Um, for a local business, I would really make sure that the address is in here, absolutely, because that's what also will help you with your rankings. So so Facebook, and moving out of Facebook, actually, I'll give you another example of a company. Okay, so I was looking at Green Apple House Cleaning. So they are a local business, as you mentioned. So very important if you're a local business to have like your address page clearly findable, you know, with this information, because the name, address, and phone number information on your website is going to help you with your rankings in the city that you're operating in. And then if I scroll down to her social media channels, let's go to Google Plus, because for local businesses, that's definitely the most, I would say, one of the most important social media channels. Now you're probably going to say, oh, well, I don't use Google Plus. Nobody I know uses Google Plus, but it's not for, it's not going to be like Facebook. It's mainly because Google, the search engine, the most popular search engine in Canada, is actually ranking and actually listing Google profiles in its results. So that's what you want. You want to have a really well filled out profile with reviews, ideally. So you should, if you start getting clients, start getting them to review your page. So definitely create a Google Plus company page, local company page, with your address, with your phone number, with a decent description, with the keywords you want to rank well for in Google. And definitely include a few photos just to make it a little more personalized. So when somebody finds you on a search engine and then lands on your Google Plus page accidentally, like let's say I searched for her, the Google Plus profile often appears right under the company name directly from the search results, right? So so it's really important to have this page, even if you're not going to be doing updates on it like you do on your Facebook page or on your Instagram account. So you have a question? I would still recommend, if you're mainly going to be operating locally, because there is an option on here to, when you're setting up the page, there is an option where you can select, I serve customers at their place of business, which means nobody's going to come to your house and try to do business with you at your house. So the listing here will look slightly different if you select the option of you serve customers at their place of business. Okay, so I would still recommend, if most of your sales are local, it's better to put your address than to not have a local address, just because of trust. When somebody finds you on a search engine, they're like, oh, I've never heard of this company. Then they go to your page and they're like, oh, look, there's real people. Oh, look, they have nice, clean looking, nice, fresh looking vehicles. They look professional. They have uniforms. Look at that. Okay, look, there's a little older lady kind of cleaning a house. I think that's the kind of cleaning company I want to hire, right? So they've really got their target audience straight, because who hires cleaning companies? It's going to be mothers who just had a baby who don't have time to clean. It's going to be older ladies who have back problems and can't clean, right? It's going to be people people who have the money, obviously, and people who are looking for a company that they trust because they're going to give them their house keys. Who are you going to give your house keys to, right? So the fact that they have reviews is really good. So that's one thing that's very important. Um, you have to have your product straightened out. You have to have a good service or a good product because if your product or service is poor, this is going to backfire because people will review negatively. Now let's look at the reviews. Like let's say I'm trying to decide on a couple of cleaning companies. What am I going to do? I'm going to read the reviews, right? So let's just see if I could take a look at the reviews. Maybe I can't. It's not letting me click on it. Oh, they're right there. So these are some of the reviews. As you can see, they're mostly positive. Now let's see if we can find a negative one, because those are the ones I always look for. I want to see if the person who reviewed negatively had a problem that's a deal breaker for me, right? So I would read this comment, somebody's unhappy, and look, the company responded. So the company took the time to respond, and I read this response. It's very factual. It's not blaming the client. It's providing information about how they handle the situation. So for example, here she says that she offered to have the cleaning for free because the client wasn't satisfied with the cleaning. Um, and then, if you have any further issues, don't hesitate to contact, and she provides an email address and a local phone number. So that is definitely smart marketing because mostly they have positive reviews, but the one time they got a negative review, they took the time to respond factually, not to blame the client or to barrage the client, but to kind of indicate exactly what happened, that they offered to give the service for free, and here's some more contact information if you have any questions about this, or if she wants to contact them again for anything. So this is a good example of a Google Plus page for sure. Because if you notice, when I searched for Ottawa house cleaning companies, not all of them had a Google Plus page, first of all. And then most of them didn't have reviews or didn't have like a review in this sense, like a lot of reviews, mostly good reviews, but also a response on the negative ones, right? So it's the companies that take the time to respond and to really kind of show that they care. Those are the ones that you're going to pick and say, I trust them, right? So really it's for that, to build trust. So what else do they have? Yeah. It helps rank you because Google owns Google Plus, and having a Google Plus local page with an address associated with the city in which you're operating, that boosts your search engine ranking on your website. And also, if you notice, there's 53,000 views. Do you think that their Facebook page gets 53,000 views? I don't think so because they have very few fans. Look at their Facebook page. Let's look at it. So look, they have 2,000 fans. Of those 2,000 fans, only 2 to 6% see their posts in their newsfeed, right? So that's how many? 1 to 200 people. Versus Google Plus, that's 53,000 views. Why? Because the Google Plus profile is linked to from search engine results, and way more people use Google than Facebook for these types of purposes. Yep. Um, Actually, that's a very good question because my family business used to operate from home. Now we have a commercial address, but when we operate from home, we still put our house address. And we just put that we don't serve clients at our place of business. Like there's an option when setting up the page. So the little red dot thing that's appearing on the map will look differently if you don't serve people at your place of business or at your address. Yes. Well, then I would at least put the city in which you're operating, your main city, and then you might want to put, I don't, you might want to put in your description that all our sales are online, or we do, or our service is provided online, or something like that. Or if you're not comfortable with including your full address, just at least the city and province of where you're located, so that they can see you're Canadian and or you're local. I guess the fact that you're Canadian is a good thing, right? People buying from you from Canada, I usually want to see that they're local because then the shipping will be cheaper. You know what I mean? So if it's a product based company, so that was a good example for Google Plus. And as you saw, they don't have any posts, right? They're not doing regular posts the way that they're doing on Facebook. Look, they're doing posts on Facebook. See, they're doing posts. They're sharing videos on cleaning. They're promoting the fact that they're eco-friendly. That might be important to their target audience. They're posting a lot of things. So they're posting fairly regularly on Facebook. But as you can see, they only set up the Google Plus profile for search engine ranking, for if anyone finds them through Google and then happens to click on that little Google Plus link that appears under your company name when you're listed in Google. So let's just go back to my search. Okay, you see how it's listed here, the company name and the company name, and what about this? You see the Google Plus page is listed in search results versus Facebook isn't, Instagram isn't, all the other accounts are not. So that's really the main purpose of having a Google Plus page, particularly if you're a local business. So in terms of managing your social media, now you're thinking, oh, I'm going to have so many channels to post to and maintain. Well, a tool that is really good for doing that, and there is a free version of Hootsuite that anybody can get. You only need to pay if you want to have multiple people, like a big team running your social media. But if you have just one person, and in your case it will work out, create a Hootsuite account, a free version, and then link up all your social channels. Link up your Google Plus page, link up your Facebook page, link up your Twitter account if you end up choosing Twitter as one of your channels. And then you can post directly from here and then select which account you want to post to. And you could also schedule. So let's say doing presentation on social media. Let's say I don't want this post to go out right now. I can schedule it. So you click on scheduling and you would select the date. I want it to go out today, but later. So right now it's close to 10. I want it to go out at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. and you can click schedule. So that way you could really schedule your posts. You could say you have once a week, let's say every Monday you'll have a post, or 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And on Facebook, when you go into your Facebook fan page, there is a section called Insights, and you can see when your fans are mostly online, and then you can schedule your posts at those times. So that's one other tactic. So I gave you an example of a photography company, a cleaning company that had good branding. I don't know if you noticed, but their website is very clean, very well structured. It's simple, it's not cluttered, and it has the number. They have a 1-800 number. I think that's quite good if you could get that. If not, then have a local number visible somewhere on the website right away. So if you're a local business, you could tell right away that the 613 area code, it means you're based in Ottawa. Right? So they have a good professional logo, professional looking website, a good tool to use to create your own website if you don't have the money to hire a professional company all the time, is to use WordPress. That's definitely a tool that is fairly easy to learn without a lot of coding experience. And there's lots of tutorials on YouTube that you could just look at how to create your own WordPress website. So I would highly recommend it if you don't have a website yet. And let's move on to one more example. Okay, so Twitter. For Twitter, what they were doing is, I don't recommend that you do what they're doing. What they did is they linked up their Facebook page to their Twitter account. So when they post on Facebook, it automatically goes to Twitter. And you can tell because it's the fb.me URL. That's a Facebook URL. So the reason that this is not a good way to do it and why Hootsuite is a better way to do it is because look at this. Sometimes they have a post that's just a link, right? Somebody on Twitter that sees a post that's just a link is going to think it's spam, right? So, and on Facebook, this type of post looks good because the link is probably a photo, right? Or the link pulls in the text from the landing page and then you can see what the post is, right? But on Twitter, it just looks like a link. So I don't recommend you linking your Twitter to your Facebook and posting automatically every time you post to Facebook so that it posts automatically to your Twitter. I don't recommend that. I recommend you create a Hootsuite account, a free one, and then you schedule this and you select Facebook. And then you do a different post. So this post is Twitter. And you have to use the appropriate hashtags for your business. So cleaning company, house cleaning, and then Ottawa. And then you schedule that for your Twitter account. You select your Twitter account and you schedule that. And that's another important part is that in Facebook, hashtags are not really, haven't really taken off that much. They are highly used on Instagram and they are highly used on Twitter, but on Facebook, not that much, especially since most people have their profiles closed. So really, I mean, their profile's not open to the public. Therefore, when you click on a hashtag, you know, let's say someone posts a hashtag, other people are not going to see it, right? People who are outside of your friends' network. So, so hashtags pretty much are only to be used on Twitter or on Instagram or on Pinterest, but not so much on Facebook and definitely not on LinkedIn. Hashtags are not, don't work on LinkedIn. So I've demonstrated some Hootsuite stuff with Twitter. Todd Maffin is a really good Twitter expert. I've been to several of his presentations. He travels all over the world and does presentations on social media and how to optimize your channels. So definitely take a look at his videos on YouTube. They're really good. And my final example will be with Instagram. And there's this company. It's a local Ottawa-based business started by a husband and wife. It's called Vegan Cuts. So what they do is, and this is them, by the way, so they will post personal photos on their Instagram, and I'll tell you the reason behind that. So I attended a presentation from the owner, which is the lady here, and so she described her business, she described some of the techniques she uses, and which techniques work for her. So because she's an Ottawa-based business, a very, very small business, I think they have maybe 6 people now, they started just a husband and wife. They don't have a commercial office. They operate out of Hub Ottawa, which is a shared business office space, which is something you guys might want to consider if you don't want to invest in a commercial space yet. But if you are planning to continue running your business in the future. So what they do is basically they started out with having an online subscription for a vegan snacks box. So it's a monthly subscription, and vegans around the world globally can order this, and then every month they get a new box with interesting different snacks that are vegan and that are, you know, tested by them because the owners are vegan, right? So if it's not something they would eat, well, they wouldn't put it in their snack box, right? So they started out with that, and she was telling the audience that they didn't spend any money on advertising. They only used social media to grow their business, and it went worldwide. And the reason is because they used the social media really, really well. And she said that her most profitable, by most profitable, I mean gets the most direct sales that she can link back to is Instagram. And here's an example. So she'll do like a photo of the box, and then she'll tag it. I don't know if you see all the hashtags that she uses. Do you see all those hashtags? She has done a lot of research on finding out what the vegan community online, which hashtags do they use. That's what you guys have to do. You have to figure out who your target audience, which hashtags do they use. And then she puts that on every single post. And that's how her post gets exposure. And that's how she's gotten 45,000 fans over, like, I don't think it's more than 3 years that she's had the account. So that's the thing about Instagram is with hashtags, you could really reach to audiences beyond your own fans. because anybody who's searching for those hashtags in their Instagram account will see your posts, right? So that way you're exposing your content and what you're trying to sell to a larger audience. So yes, you're right. They are global in the sense that they ship to Canada, US, and to the UK. Yeah, go ahead. Good question. Uh, I would do it in Photoshop because I know Photoshop, but most people don't know Photoshop. So I'll give you an example of a free tool that could do that. It's called iPicky, iPicky.com. I don't know if anyone heard of it. Excellent. So iPicky is like Photoshop, but stripped down and much easier. It's online based, so you don't have to install a big Photoshop software that's going to take up all your RAM. You just use it online. You upload the photo you want to edit. You can layer it with text. You can layer it with bubbles. You can layer it with whatever you want. And then you can crop it, save it on your desktop, or save it on, let's see, on Evernote, right? The reason you'd want to save it on Evernote is because Instagram only lets you post from your mobile device. So from your mobile device, you would log into your Evernote, then you would take a screenshot of that image, then you would post it on Instagram. Because on Instagram, everything is instant, everything is from your phone. Instagram, you can't post from online. Okay, so remember that you can't post from a desktop. So that's really the only way that I could think of that they probably do. Or what they do is they probably upload the photo onto their website, onto a page where there's nothing except for the photo, and then she goes on that page from her phone, takes a screen capture of it, and then posts it on Instagram. That's another way to do it, right? So let's look at their Instagram, just because they're so successful at it. They're Ottawa based. Yeah.
I just have a question because I noticed they have more than 45,000 fans on Instagram. Do you think that there's a limit to organic social media growth? These people, you said they didn't spend any money on advertising.
They did not.
I do have some I do social media management.
Yeah.
And I have some clients. Before I came in, who already have a couple thousand fans on Twitter or Facebook. But a lot of them are very adamant on wanting to actually spend money on advertising.
Okay.
On Facebook. I know on Facebook, like you were saying,
only 2 to 6%.
Yeah, that's without paying for advertising.
That's correct.
If you're doing a targeted advertising, things.
I have bought Facebook advertising for my family business, which is a janitorial cleaning company, and I found that they were low quality, in the sense that they would like your page, but then they would never like anything else ever again. But that's just because it's my business. My business is B2B, and Facebook is not best suited for B2B. Now, if you were let's say a fashion company or a nail design company, then that might work out for you, because then you might start posting nice nail design shots, and then people start liking it, and then you actually build your fan base from the advertising. So you use the advertising to beef up your fan base, and then you start posting really cool pics. Let's say instead of posting your hand holding the nail polish bottle, you post your hand holding your kitten. You know what I mean? You still have the nails so that people see what your art and your designs are, but you make them funky, because that's the thing with Facebook. Because you get such low views, you have to make outrageous photos and posts in order to get more likes, in order for more people to see your stuff, right? Also, the thing with Facebook and the Facebook algorithm is when you do a post that does really, really well, you have a halo effect. So for the next couple of days, a lot more people are going to see your post. Then you don't post for a while, it drops, right? Or you go back to only 2% of your fans see your stuff. Then it can go up if you do a really good post. So they've expanded, as you can see. So they don't just do food boxes now. They do vegan beauty boxes. They do vegan, that's part of the beauty box set. They do hair care products and beauty products and various other kind of boxes that you can subscribe to. And they've built a really loyal fan base. Now, she said that, yeah, she did use Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and Pinterest. And she said the order in which things worked for her was Instagram was #1 in generating sales. And she could track that because she can see on her Google Analytics where the users are coming from and where they click buy, right? They click buy, but where did they come from, right? And then next after Instagram, what worked well for her was Pinterest. So I'll give you an example of her Pinterest account as well. So and then after Pinterest, it was Facebook and finally Twitter. So Twitter works the least well for her. Now, this is just for her target audience. For you guys, it might be different. But that's why, like I said, I'll go back to the social strategy. You really have to iron out your audience from the get-go to determine where you're going to spend the most time and effort. So let's look at her Pinterest. So Pinterest is doing essentially the same thing. The only difference is that Pinterest, you can, I don't know if you guys have ever used Pinterest, but basically you can pin images from anywhere around the web. So let's say you are planning a recipe, you're going to go to a bunch of recipe sites and pin the photos of those foods, of those meals, and pin them into your board called recipes for the summer or whatever, right? So look, they have a board called Mother's Day 2014. So that is actually a good way to link their posts to some sort of an event that's happening. So Mother's Day is a pretty popular event. So that goes back to my point about the social calendar, the social media content calendar. So like I said, definitely publish consistently, and also to build yourself a calendar. Like if there's more things coming up in the summer, I know there was the FIFA World Cup, so they might have had a pin board somehow related to it with their product being featured and highlighted. So always, again, you try to make it fun. You try to make it interesting so people engage with your content online, because the engagement with the content is what spreads it out to more people. But again, you still want to tie it somehow to your product or service. So with Pinterest, again, hashtags are important, just like with Instagram. Let me just see. People also search with like just things that they're interested in, so they'll still find you even if you just have text. So I would still say that they're important, but they're the most important on Instagram. Really, that's why if you notice her post, she has like 50 hashtags or some crazy amount listed here. So these have been carefully researched, and then she picked the best ones, and then she uses all of those each time she highlights the product. Yeah.
So would it be very relevant for a local that a lot of
Yes.
I mean, if you're just in Ottawa,
You know what it would be good for? A restaurant or a food service business or a beauty business. Because on Instagram, when you have a post, you could tag it with your location, right? And then if you tag each post with Ottawa, OTT City, or My Ottawa, or Ottawa Life, those are some of the popular Ottawa hashtags I just mentioned. If you hashtag those each time, people searching for those or clicking on those hashtags in Instagram will see your stuff. So if you're a restaurant and you're the chef and you're taking beautiful photos of your food, you're posting it on Instagram, tagging it with those Ottawa hashtags, then yes, people are going to see it, especially people coming from out of town too, who are trying to find a good restaurant. Well, let's look at what Ottawa has to offer, right? The only difference is, yes, the only difference is when you post it in the post, it appears up here, right, in the main post. So it might distract from your main message, possibly. If you put it in the comment, it'll appear in those feeds at the time you post the comment. So for example, let's say you put your post on Monday at 11, and it seems that you didn't get a lot of likes and a lot of comments, and you want to give it a boost, then you comment with all those hashtags later on at another time, and you give it life again, or even the next week. Let's say you comment with those hashtags a couple of days later, your photo will appear in those hashtags search feeds at the time when you comment it, right? So it gives it kind of a boost. So some of the examples, I have some really cool examples that they share, that Vegan has shared with what they do in terms of promotion. So what they did, let me just search for it here. So those are my notes from the presentation. I take all my notes in Google Docs, and I could always see them on my phone wherever I go. So what they liked is people like behind the scenes photos, people liked work in progress photos, like when they're deciding which products to put into a box and they want you to vote on it. So please vote, please comment and vote on which products we should put in the August snack box. And then you definitely should have your own hashtag. So their hashtag is just their brand name, Vegan Cut. So tell people you have a hashtag, promote it and advertise it everywhere. Here are some examples of the promotions that they use. They have a free item promo. So they ask people to share the photo of their snack box, and those people are entered into a contest to win 6 months free worth of snack boxes, right? So those are examples of contests that you can run on social media. Sometimes they have openings of opening your box. When you get your box, you open it and you take an interesting photo, selfie of yourself opening the box. So things like that. So that's getting more users to be involved with the product. And this is a really good one. Tag three friends that you think you would like this product. So vegans probably know a lot of other vegans, right? So if they tag their friends, then you're spreading the message further. So that was basically the contest. They had to share a selfie with them opening the snack box. They had to tag 3 friends, and they had to use their branded hashtag. So the people who did those 3 things, and they provided those instructions as part of the contest, right? So they'll have a contest image with the instructions of what you have to do to enter the contest. And then the people who did that, they entered them into a draw, and they could win 6 months free of vegan snack boxes, which I'm sure was a very good giveaway for them. Yeah?
Do you recommend you should follow people on our account?
Yeah, sure, because when you follow, that shows up in their feed that you follow them. So you should be searching for hashtags. So she probably went in and looked for all the vegan hashtags, saw who was using them, and started following them. Started following a lot of those people, right? So that's the good thing about Instagram. You follow a couple of hundred, a couple of thousand people, and you're not going to get blocked necessarily. Versus on Twitter, you can only follow 2,000 people, and after that you can't follow anymore unless you have at least 2,000 people following you back. Okay, so that's the caution with Twitter. You can't go beyond 2,000 unless you have more than 2,000 following you back. So I'm not sure if Instagram has that limit. Instagram is owned by Facebook, so I'm not 100% sure if they have that limit as well. So they also had a liking strategy. So they would go onto they would search for vegan hashtags, they would find other vegans across Canada or wherever they were first shipping their product to, and they would start liking those people's photos, because engaging with people, with your audience on those channels, pings them that you exist, right? It pings them, it notifies them that you exist. So you should definitely have a liking strategy. How am I going to spread the word further? I'm going to go and like other people's fan pages. I'm going to go like other fan page posts. I'm going to go like other vegans' images on Instagram, etc. You should have a liking strategy, because that definitely boosts your exposure. And let me just see. They did events. They'll have an event hashtag and they'll promote it, and they'll promote it before, during, and after the event. They'll build hype. They'll ask people who attend to take a photo with the invite, right, and then share it on all of their social feeds. And they had a live stream of Instagram photos during the event, so it was on a big screen. Yeah, you had a question? Test it out based on your audience, really. Like if you followed like 50 people today, spend time researching and following 50 people, versus you spend the same amount of time liking 50 photos, and then you see how many followers you get that day or the next day, or your account, or other comments or likes on your photos. You can kind of judge like which type of tactic resulted in the most, I guess, the most results for you, right? And then determine. But I would do a combination of both. Any other questions, guys, about Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Google+, anything at all? Oh yeah.
no Facebook page.
Oh.
Should I just use my personal account or why should I go to page?
Because I think your personal account has a limit of 5,000 friends. So if you really want to grow a lot, like look, if you saw Katya's page, she already had 2,100, right? So she could eventually get past 5,000. So if she was only using her personal Facebook page, she would hit that limit, right? Versus the fan page, there is no limit. Also, depends how much privacy settings your account has, right? Is your account fully public? Are all your posts fully public and searchable by Google? I don't know. Maybe a lot of the posts you restrict and you share it only with your friends, right? Versus the fan page is public, everything's public. So, and the goal is to be public because then you're searchable by Google, you're searchable by people searching on the Facebook search bar. You had a question as well? Sure. Yeah.
You should totally like keep that in there. That like 5,000.
I'll put you on the spot, Majid.
Except for the startup, I kind of like noticed that people kind of let's say like humility is the back of your startup. Say, okay, you know what? I just opened up my new business. I just started. I love how the different help. I can share my picture. I can people and you have a 5,000 friends, and you have say like a sales person talks about say like 200 of them started pictures again, like 250,000.
Yeah.
Just really take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I don't really bother about it. Not valid.
Good point. No, it's true. It's true. So on my final point in the strategy, it's the evaluate and adjust. So there's lots of ways you could evaluate your efforts. So like I said, if you have Google Analytics built in and you could easily see where your audience on your website is coming from and how many of them are converting on your contact form and contacting you or requesting a quote, that's really the best way. But if you don't have that set up, the other way you can measure is how many people use my hashtag, right? Or how many people followed all the instructions and entered the contest or how many likes, comments, or shares did I get this month versus the previous month, right? Because you want to have that engagement number going up or as high as you can get because that gives you more exposure, and that's what you need right now since you're not well known. Yeah.
Let's say you're good and
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to promote one message. Is it better to have, let's say, a link to the website with a plus code? Let's say, it's better to have two different messages on Twitter and one on Instagram and one on WhatsApp, or have one message with one link. It's very different.
The only thing I would say is there's a difference in terms of character count that will do better. So for example, on Twitter, 70 to 100 characters does the best. That's kind of the sweet spot. So you want to have your post, including the URL and including all the hashtags, under 100 characters, which is I know is very hard, but you should try to aim for that. So the messages have to be really short and sweet. On Facebook, it's even shorter. It's around 40 characters. So if you can have a very short 3-word post and then your big image of your product, your service with some tips or an infographic or something like that, that's what will resonate best on Facebook. So it's only 40 characters. So do some research as to online as to which types of posts in terms of length, character length will do better, and you'll see. And also image heavy posts. Obviously on Instagram you have to have images that you're going to share. So like she was taking photos of her snack boxes. You have to have imagery to be able to share. If you don't have imagery, you can create infographics about your product or service. Again, the way that I said using ipicky.com, you can create memes, you can create infographics, you can layer text on various images and create something funny, but it's related to your product or service. So definitely image-based posts are the ones that do the best on Facebook, on Instagram, even on Twitter nowadays, because Twitter has become more image-centered like Facebook. Did you have another question? No? Anybody else? Sure, yeah. LinkedIn is a social network. It's a professional social network. So you should definitely have a profile for yourself on it because it might be a good source for investors in the future for your startup. So also for job opportunities, you definitely have to have a LinkedIn profile. So I can go in and show you what they have for their LinkedIn. Let's see, because I haven't actually looked at that one. Okay, so it looks like it links to the CEO's profile. So that's one way to do it, or you can have a company page for your LinkedIn as well. So serial entrepreneur, CEO, so description, include some of the education background, interests, and which university they went to, etc., and all these things. So the main thing again is having a good paragraph describing your business because it's all keyword, right? The more profiles you have with the relevant keywords associated to your business, even if you're not going to be doing posting on that feed, are still good for your SEO, for your search engine rankings on Google. And of course, having a profile like this that's really well filled out, you know what? It makes me trust her more, right? Oh, look, she went to Concordia. Oh, that's great. I know a little bit more about her. I maybe might be more likely to trust her company with my house keys, right? She's a real person, not somebody based in, I don't know, some very foreign, faraway country, right? So you have to think the way people think, and especially the way your target audience thinks. So yeah, I would definitely still recommend LinkedIn for having your own personal profile as the CEO or founder of this company, your educational background, all of that information. In terms of company pages, I would say only if you're a business-to-business company. If you sell to other businesses, then it would be good to have. So I can show you an example of a company that has a good. So this is a law firm, pretty major, pretty big law firm. They have a company page. They share various business-related and posts related to their growth, their strategies, you know, where they're expanding to, whether they're hiring right now, things like that. So definitely, it's more of a B2B world on LinkedIn. Najid, how am I on time? Do I have? I'm doing great. How much time do I have? Okay, sounds good. So yeah, just to sum up, if you have your audience really, really ironed out, you know how they think, you have done some research, you've asked people about what they'd like to do, what kind of photos that would resonate with them, and you've tailored all of that to make your social feeds as interesting as possible so that you get as much engagement as possible, then that's how you can actually get some sales out of it, right? And you can't always just be self-promotional, and that's something I'm going to stress. You have to provide value. So for example, on her Facebook page, she doesn't, the cleaning company one, she doesn't just say, oh, call us and get a quote. If you do posts like that all the time, everyone's gonna unlike your page, right? You have to add some value. You have to share cleaning tips or videos on how to take certain kind of stains out of your carpet or whatever. So some sort of educational material that shows that you are an expert in your business or in your service, and something that adds value so that people will continue liking your page or following your account. And that's it. Yes, sure. Oh, sure. I could definitely share that with you. It was more of an outline for me as to what I was going to talk about, but I could definitely share that with you guys.
Well, you know what? It's a recorded work.
Okay.
If you want to send it to me,
Okay. Sounds good.
what was the most valuable thing you learned? Raise your hand. The Google Plus.